So first off, again, the dog's already shown aggression. If you saw the first video, it charged one of the animal control officers, trying to injure her. So the cops already know that this dog, and animal control already knows that this dog's going to attack any chance it gets. This right here is like one of the worst case scenarios. You can easily fall down here when the dog tries to lunge at you. Your head's gonna be pretty much eye level with the dog as you're trying to get up there. So, and also, you see here the officer has less than lethal. These are the beanbag rounds to hit the dog if needed. They had a police officer come and knock on the door first, and then luckily for them, someone was home, because if someone wasn't home, then they would be in a really rough situation. That one's actually the animal control officer. You can see the guy just like, what is going on, So again, ears pinned back, body completely straight. Dog is completely looking at the animal control officer. Wanted to take a chunk out of him if he could, or she could. I don't know if it's a boy or girl dog. So I'm going to just go ahead and play it at normal speed because I think it's important to show you this part. Okay, so you saw right there, boom, the dog bit it and, caught the cable in its mouth. You can actually see on this cable already, it's already fraying from probably previous dog attacks or dogs biting that pole. Oh. So again, the dog is lunging towards the cable, lunging towards you. So this is also why you have to have your footing down so that you can either slide back or be ready to strike the dog if needed. Don't be completely off balance, because the last thing you want to do is fall forward right towards the dog that's really trying to hurt you. Also too, as I mentioned in the last video, the dog has the comfort level. The length of the catch pole and the officer's probably somewhere around here. The dog is okay enough to where it's not running yet. Even when I do these, I kind of try to stretch my arms out as far as I can safely, just so my body isn't moving and encroaching closer to the dog. Because like I said, once you get too close, it's either going to just go all out and try to get you, or in this case, it's going to run down the stairs because it's right there. Oh, and I hate when it does that. So when the dog bit and it kind of threw the cable off a little bit, so now you don't have a nice noose right there. It just makes it a little awkward when you're trying to put it around the dog. See the dog's move? Boom, perfect, around the dog. So this is where practice with the catch pole comes into play, because now you have two options, and it really just depends on the dog. In my scenario, with how nuts the dog can get, that would have been a quick pull and snatch it right on the neck, and that again is going to come with practice to know, boom, right when to stop. The dog is going to freak out. You're going to probably see it. I don't remember if it does do it here, but the dog will start freaking out and biting the catch pole. You can also do it too, where I think this one does it, is he goes, he's still trying to bite it, still trying to get it, and the officer does it just slowly, because you can see the dog is completely focused on the animal control officer. And now once it feels the cable around its neck, boom, it starts biting. And as you can see, this is exactly why it's manufactured like this, with this hard-ish rubber here, because they already know this is where the dog's going to bite. So it takes some of the impact out of the dog or any animal, just so it's just not biting into bare metal and really, really hurting the animal.
There you go. Just gonna set this dog off.
Okay, so you see here the dog is starting to bite it, and now it just wants to go anywhere it can away from the officer. So now we're going to get into a very awkward situation, because the officer has to come down with the dog and see there the position of the pole. This is why too. I mean, it is a simple tool, but you gotta be very aware of how it goes. Now that the dog is trying to bite the pole, but the cable's here, it's really kind of stretching out the dog's neck, because of its own doing. And you're going to have a really hard time controlling the dog. And again, you can get to the point where the cable can start twisting or bending and start choking the dog, and then the cable not releasing, and then you got a dog that's strangling itself. So this is also another reason why you want to make sure that your catch pulls are always maintained, because if they fail, you're going to have a really bad day on both ends for the animal and yourself. So you can see the dog, it's biting the catch pull.
Get the dog out.
So
go.
So you saw it there just a little bit when it was biting.
Dog out.
Now the dog has more blood. That's not from earlier. If you saw the first clip for the first video, it had some blood on there, but it looks like now it's a lot more, and it's most likely from biting that. And you can see the dog just wants to keep biting. So the dog is now kind of standing its ground. This is also too where you as the officer, I know we're animal control and you have a bunch of police officers there, but they also understand this is your show. And what's going on here is now you made a complete circle around the dog. The dog has nowhere to go. That's not a good thing. That's why the dog is kind of positioned itself, and everybody should kind of just be out of the way at this point. This includes even the other animal control officers. If you want to go this direction, because then you'll see shortly, this is where the truck is at. You don't want to be in the animal's way because it wants to go away from humans at this point. And again, it's going to keep biting the catch pole. So, now the officer's kind of struggling with the dog. So this is also where I say, too, you want to use the dog's fear and aggression and it's wanting to flee at this moment to your advantage, because, you can easily walk right through all this rocks. Yeah, it's not as safe, but we're trying to get this dog in the truck. And this isn't as dangerous as trying to walk all the way around nicely on the cement, just to get to your truck. So you can see, again, he's fighting with the dog. And this is where I say to you, you got to be careful that you don't want to drag the dog. He's in a very awkward position. Again, see how the catch pole is positioned. Ideally, you would want this behind the dog, with you kind of behind the dog, guiding it in one direction. So you can hear it kind of just grinding on there. So what they're doing in this situation is they're going to hook up an additional catch pole there. That way they can use the body weight and power of two people to kind of get the dog to go in that direction. And of course the dog is going to keep fighting the whole thing. And to see, in this situation, they went ahead and had the truck door ready and open. That's why you see, like in that clip, when the officer's just standing there with the dog, everybody's kind of prepping and making sure it's open. And I think even the cops were kind of making sure no one else got around there, because you would imagine how many freaking times the public wants to walk by with their dog because they're being nosy and they see animal control, and we're just dealing with a dog that just attacked another dog, and then they're like, oh, I want to see you take my little dog there, and we have to literally yell at them to get away. We don't want to do another report. But in this situation here, they finally get the dog up there and in. And like I said before in other videos, we're all doing this to learn. The reason I'm making the videos is sharing my training and my philosophies on how to do it. And I don't know how everybody else was trained. Luckily, I was trained by one of the best, and he really showed me on kind of just how to control the situations and deal with the dogs. And it's made me a better officer ever since. So, I believe if I had the scenario here, it would have been over a lot quicker had, again, watch the first video, yelled at the dog, pretty much freaked it out to the point of the dog's going like, who's this crazy person looking at me? Grab the dog in the catch pole on the first floor, and then use the dog's fear to get away from me, to run almost like I'm walking the dog on the catch pole, to run as fast as I can with it away from me. Once we got to the truck, then we do a little bit of a force to get it in there. But you kind of got to use those tips of what the animal's giving you to make your life as easy as possible. Sometimes it's not going to matter. Sometimes the animals are going to outweigh you or outmuscle you. It happens. But the majority of the time, I can make the calls pretty simple if I'm using the animal's behavior in my favor. So again, this is where I'll cut off this video. But like I said, I just wanted to share the knowledge, and this is kind of just the scenarios we're going to always deal with as animal control. We don't know what we're going to get into. This day we have a quiet week, and then the week afterwards it's nothing but calls like this.